Welcome to Vista's podcast. Today we will be interviewing a dodo for my presentation. Thank you for joining me today. Can you tell us your scientific name?
Of course, my scientific name is Rhapis cuculatus.
Interesting. How would you describe yourself? What did you look like and did you have any special adaptations?
Well, I was a large, flightless bird, about 1 meter tall and weighing somewhere between 10 and 20 kilograms. My wings were small and not suited for flying, but my chubby yellow legs were strong for walking. My feathers were blue-gray or brownish-gray, and I had a tuft of curly-tail feathers and a hooked blackish bill. Because there were no natural predators on my island, I didn't need to fly or run away. My size and flightlessness helped me thrive in a place full of food and safety until new dangers arrived that I wasn't prepared for.
That sounds very interesting, Dodo. How about your geographic range? Where did you live?
Well, I only lived on the island of Mauritius in the Indian Ocean. It was my exclusive home.
That's so great. Well, what was your life cycle like? How did you reproduce?
Well, like my pigeon relatives, I likely laid just one egg at a time in a simple nest on the ground. With so few threats around, I didn't need to have many chicks at once. My reproductive rate was slow, which worked just fine until predators came with humans.
That is astounding. Well, what did you eat? What did your diet look like, Dodo?
Well, I was mostly a frugivore, eating fallen fruits, seeds, roots, and nuts. Sometimes I might have eaten small land or even shellfish. Land animals or even shellfish. Sometimes I swallowed stones to help grind up tough food in my gizzard.
That is very interesting and a little dangerous. Anyway, how long were you on Earth? And when did you appear or disappear?
Well, I evolved after Mauritius formed, probably within the last several million years. I lived peacefully until humans arrived. Sadly, the last widely accepted sighting of my kind was in 1662, and by 1681 we were gone.
That is pretty sad. Well, what was your environment like? What were the conditions of Earth at the time?
Well, Mauritius was a tropical paradise, covered in dense forests and free of large predators before humans. It was a stable, lush place that let me and other unique animals flourish.
That's pretty great. Well, who shared your ecosystem? What other organisms lived in this island?
I lived alongside giant tortoises, small reptiles, fruiting trees, and many invertebrates. I was a primary consumer, but after humans came, my eggs and chicks became easy prey for my predators.
That sounds very interesting. As we can see here, there is a food web, and this one I actually created myself. We can see the energy flowing up, and there's not many predators, obviously, as you said, Dodo. And it's very interesting. Well, moving on, who are your closest relatives? I'd really like to know.
Well, I'm part of the pigeon and dove family, Columbidae. My closest living relative is the Nicobar pigeon. My extinct cousin was the Rodriguez solitaire.
Wow, that's quite interesting. I would have never thought that. You look quite different to these ones, though. Anyway, how do we know you existed? What are the evidence?
Well, scientists have found my bones and partial skeletons in Mauritius. There were no complete stuffed dodos, but DNA analysis and old illustrations have helped people learn about me and my history. That's very great. Finally, why did you go extinct? I mean, you're such a fantastical and famous bird, even in Alice in Wonderland. Why did you suddenly disappear? Well, my extinction happened because of the human hunting, destruction of my forest home, and the introduction of invasive animals like rats, pigs, and monkeys. These new animals ate my eggs and competed for food. I just couldn't adapt quickly enough to survive all these sudden changes and finally went extinct.
Well, that was very interesting for our interview today. Thank you, Dodo, for sharing your story with us, and see you next time.
Thank you for remembering me.